my beautiful lovelies, it's Emmy. Welcome back. Today's video is sponsored by Skillshare, an online learning community that allows you to take different courses in all different kinds of things, including videography, design. If you're one of the first 300 people to sign up with the link down below, you shall receive 2 free months of Skillshare absolutely free. Big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now let's get on with the recipe. So today I'm going to be making a cake, and it's a little bit unusual because it contains ingredients like this. Sauerkraut. This is a jar of sauerkraut. This is pickled cabbage, but it gets better. It also contains mayo, as in mayonnaise, and Coke, cherry Coke, right? Cherry cola, sauerkraut, mayo. All of the wonderful things that we think of when we think of cake, right? No, absolutely not. So I found this recipe from the New York Times, and I will put the link down below. Now we're ready to make our cake, and my whole kitchen smells like sauerkraut. All right, let's prepare our pan. So I've got myself a tube cake. This is a little bundt cake, but anything with a tube will work. You could probably use an angel food cake pan, or something that's got a tube in the middle. And the recipe says to butter and flour it, but I'm going to use this. Love this kind of spray. This is an off-brand, but this is just cooking spray, but it contains flour. It's specifically for baking. I love this because I don't have to get butter on my fingers. I don't really like the feeling of butter on my digits. Don't really know why. So I use this because it works, and I get to skip the whole butter thing. So yeah, spray this. Hold your breath while you're doing this. I'm sure there are propellants in here that we don't want to inhale. Okay, make sure we get it on all surfaces. Okay. All right, set that aside. When it comes to sifting, I just like to use a big, sifter. Whoa, that's not as clean as it should be, but it's gonna work. 2 cups of flour. So in the New York Times article where I found this recipe, there wasn't a real clear origin story when it came to this recipe. It just kind of generalized and said post-World War II, a lot of processed food manufacturers were coming up with zany, weird ways to incorporate the production food into people's lives, kind of masquerading as like gourmet food. So tomato soup in cake recipes, sauerkraut in food recipes, naturally unsweetened cocoa powder. Oh. Settle down, Emmy. Settle down. 2/3 of a cup. Oops. I think I got most of that on my counter. Let's rescue some of that. Get back in there. Dust that off. Okay. Why am I whispering? Nobody else is here. Baking soda. 1 1/4 teaspoons. Baking powder. 1/4 teaspoon. Now I'm going to sift that through. This is really important for the cocoa powder. Cocoa powder is really finely milled, and it tends to get lumpy, so the sifting part is really good for that. In another bowl, 3 eggs. Sugar, sugar, sugar. 1 2/3 cup of sugar. Wow, that is a lot of sugar. My sugar's lumpy. Knock it off. Now, we're going to make sure the beaters are in there properly this time. Yay, go. Oh, plug it in. Ha! Ha! Minor technicality. Okay. We need some electricity. Here we go. Whoa. How about we start on low first? Okay. Alrighty, so after 3 minutes, our mixture is a very light lemony color and nice and fluffy. Now, we're going to add our 1 cup of mayo. Boop. Now we need 1 cup of cherry cola. Oh my gosh, I haven't had this forever. Oh yeah. I like the Coke part, but the cherry, not so much. Gosh, I haven't had cherry Coke in so long. Oh, yeah. Initially, I'm like, oh, yay, Coke, and then the artificial cherry comes. It's not as cloyingly, yeah, it is actually. It's very artificial cherry, and Yeah, not my favorite, but let's pour ourselves a cup. Now we're going to alternate the flour mixture with the cherry Coke. So I'll probably do about 3 additions on low. Half of our Coke. Don't want to overmix that. Finally, we're going to add our sauerkraut, and I think I forgot to talk about sauerkraut. Sauerkraut, for those of you that don't know what it is, it's basically pickled cabbage. It comes in jars like this. People used to make it homemade. It's basically shredded cabbage with addition of salt. People used to store this in their root cellars, make it when they had all their cabbage come in. I think the most common application to eat sauerkraut these days is probably on top of a hot dog, but I know there are braised dishes that contain sauerkraut as well. I don't eat much of it personally. I love its Korean cousin kimchi, which is pickled cabbage but with lots of chili and some garlic. But sauerkraut, it's fine. It's got a pretty acidic, tangy flavor, and that smell that comes with cooked cabbage. Yeah, it's kind of meh to me. But anyways, what I've done here is I've taken about half a jar of this sauerkraut and I've rinsed it and drained it and squeezed out all of the moisture, so I have 1 cup of that. So I'm gonna add that to the dish. Now I'm gonna pour it into my bundt pan. You see my bundt pan? All right, I hope you can see my bundt pan. All right, enough. We're going to bake this at 350 degrees for 50 to 55 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. I'm going to let it cool completely before we taste it. Okay, see you in a little bit. So while my cake is baking, let me tell you a little bit more about Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community that offers over 22,000 different courses in subjects like videography, design, business. Skillshare helps you make your passion your job. So right now I'm taking the course in micro-budget filmmaking by Dustin Curtis Murphy, and it's all about how you can make a film on a tiny budget, and includes gear and pre-production and just the basics on how to get started on making your own film. So a premium Skillshare membership goes around $10 a month, but if you're one of the first 300 people to sign up with a link down below, you shall receive 2 free months of Skillshare. Be sure to grab a spot because they go quickly. Big thanks to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now let's check on the cake. Alrighty, so I'm back and here is my beautiful cake. Look at this. Doesn't this look gorgeous? Looks totally edible, right? This is a beautiful chocolate cake. So the recipe said 50 to 55 minutes. I always like to set my timer for the minimum amount of time, which was 50 minutes. And I started smelling this around 43 minutes. So there still was 7 minutes left on the timer. And I checked it with a toothpick and sure enough, it was completely done. Alrighty, I can't wait to taste this. It looks beautiful. It inverted out of the pan like a breeze and it looks gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Remember, this cake contains 3 unusual ingredients: pickled cabbage, otherwise known as sauerkraut, cherry cola, and mayonnaise, a condiment used in sandwiches. But I think in combination it might not be such a bad deal, but let's go ahead and find out. It's cutting very nicely. Ooh, look at that. Perfect little slice. All right, now for the moment of truth. Let's give this cake a taste. It looks good. The crumb looks very moist. Don't really see too much evidence of the sauerkraut. I do see some of it, but it doesn't look unattractive. It's just kind of blended in there with the cake. All right, let's give that a taste. Itadakimasu. And that's a good chocolate cake. Delicious, actually. Moist, fluffy, light, and very surprisingly not over sweet, which I find absolutely shocking. because there is a cup and 2/3 of sugar and a cup of soda in there. But it's not crazy sweet. It's just like a chocolate sheet cake. Of course, this is in a bundt cake form, but that's what this tastes like. Chocolate sheet cake, basic chocolate cake, great chocolatey flavor, not fudgy, just chocolatey, cocoa chocolatey. You can feel the sauerkraut a little bit in there, and it is kind of akin to desiccated shredded coconut that you put in some desserts, but it doesn't have any of that coconutty flavor. The mayo doesn't taste like anything in there whatsoever, which doesn't surprise me. In my other chocolate mayo cake, I didn't taste it at all either. It just makes for a very moist cake. The mayo actually acts as the fat substitute. Typically in a cake, it would either be butter or oil. So in this case, we're using mayo. Again, it has a little bit of acidity, a little bit of salt, but with this much sugar in it, you don't notice it at all. And as far as the cherry Coke flavor, I don't taste any of that whatsoever. I don't taste the Coke. I don't taste the cherry flavor. But I imagine the bubbles or the CO2 that's in the soda helped with making this cake nice and tall as well. But yeah, so there you have it. A chocolate sauerkraut cherry cola mayonnaise cake that's absolutely delicious. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. I hope you guys learned something. Head over to Skillshare.com and be one of the first 300 people to sign up with a link down below to receive 2 free months of Skillshare. Big thanks to Skillshare and big thanks to you guys for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Oh, don't forget to subscribe, follow, like, and I shall see you in the next one. Toodaloo, take care, bye!